Space exploration is as much of a story of leadership and teamwork as it is a story of exploration and discovery. Leadership Moments from NASA, Achieving the Impossible, brings in valuable insights from author, doctor, and astronaut Dave Williams. Welcome back to Morning Live.
Well, thanks very much for having me. It's been quite a week in space flight, and of course,
Yes.
today we're looking forward to the grand reopening of Warplane Heritage, so it's exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're actually going there live coming up after our interview. It's very exciting times. Of course, we've had the Richard Branson, the billionaire space race, and yesterday with Jeff Bezos on the 52nd anniversary of the moon landing. It's an exciting era we're entering, isn't it?
You know, when I watched Wally Funk heading out to the spacecraft yesterday and seeing her excitement after she landed, that was incredible. The oldest person to fly in space, one of the original Mercury 13 that went through the whole selection process that the men did back in the early 1960s. That was absolutely incredible.
I'm embarrassed to say I thought I was a space nerd. I wasn't aware of the Mercury 13 until Wally Funk's story came to light here.
You know, you're not alone. Many people had never heard about that before. She's an incredible aviator, an amazing pilot, taught over 3,000 people to fly, and truly has been a mentor and a role model for female pilots. And of course, 2/3 of the pilots in my family are female, which is great.
Now, speaking of role models, let's get into the book here, Leadership Moments. You yourself are a director of space and life sciences at NASA. The book delves into leadership, and I can't think of a better example of leadership than the culture at NASA. There's so many famous examples and covered exhaustively in the book.
What we tried to do is interview the people that were involved in key leadership roles over the past 20 years or so, and then we used oral histories and documents to be able to figure out who these people are and how they made the tough decisions. George Low, for instance, in the 1960s, making the decision to send Apollo 8 to the moon in August of 1968. Over 6 months, they got ready, they did it, an unbelievable mission that really set the stage for the successful landing of Apollo 11.
Yeah, Eugene Krantz, of course, is another famous example.
Yes,
Failure is not an option.
With Apollo 13, that was an amazing moment, and I was very fortunate to talk to one of the other Apollo 13 flight directors, Glyn Lunny, and interview him for the book as well. So it was a really amazing opportunity to talk to these people about the leadership principles at work, why they were able to succeed, some of the challenges they experienced, and how to build resilience in peak performing teams.
Yes, in the example of Krantz, it comes down to tough competence, as it's described in the book. Now, you're a consultant, how does this apply? What's the takeaway for industry leaders in creating the right culture in whatever workspace?
You know, I think the critical element with culture, and we include this in the book, was Joe Rothenberg's statement. Joe was the associate administrator of NASA. You can't create the culture for people. You have to find out what their core values are, what the values are in the organization, and build the culture around the values. So if you want to change the culture, you can't just go in and say, we're changing the culture. You need to look at the value system in the organization. And I think that's really critical, being able to identify the core values and celebrate the core values at work.
Has there been changes at NASA, or has it been the same core values all along the way, or, with different generations? How are things changed there?
Well, there have been changes at NASA, and there have been moments where the agency has thrived and done incredibly well, and then there's been some very tough times for the agency that they've had to work through.
Can you give some examples?
Well, after the successes of the Apollo program in the 1960s, first of all, with Apollo 1 and the loss of the crew and the pad fire in January 1967, recovering from that and going on to be able to successfully land in the moon, that was a demonstration of incredible leadership, resilience, and just going forward and solving a huge number of problems. But after Apollo, there was a bit of a lull, and NASA did the Skylab program and Apollo-Soyuz, but then had to figure out to transition back to bringing the shuttle into service and all the rapid shuttle flights. Challenger was another huge problem for the agency. The Hubble Space Telescope with the mirror out of focus, how did you recover from that?
Right.
So a lot of these ones, they're all in the book as well, talking about the leadership principles that the key leaders used at those times.
It's a must read. I wish we had more time. By the way, I want to congratulate you since your last appearance on Morning Live. You had a school in Oakville named after you, so congratulations.
Well, thank Thank you.
There it is right there, Dr. David Williams Elementary School in Oakville. Now, we got to talk, before we go to break, we're going to, actually, when we come back from the commercial break, we're going live to the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum, which is reopening today. And when you go in the gift shop, we can find your book signed, right?
Indeed, yes, there are signed copies of the books. So people have been asking, in the pandemic, how do I get a signed copy? You can order it online from the gift shop at Warplane Heritage, or even better, drop by today and pick up a copy.
That's a great excuse among many to visit. Dave, thanks so much for sharing your time with us. Leadership moments from NASA, achieving the impossible, as the author has often done. Thank you so much, Dave.
My pleasure. Thank you.